Penis.
And and we're live. Cool Joe. Welcome to Roundabout Cast 66, Order 66, where we open with penis. Finally,
you waited.
You've been waiting for it.
You were commenting. You were tweeting us. We finally did. We delivered.
And honestly,
comment and subscribe.
The support for penis opener was overwhelming, guys. I really gotta say thank you so much for that.
Look, all right. Elon Musk bought Twitter. Roundabout Cast now officially gets to have a Twitter. We were always allowed to have one, but now that Elon owns it,
What the fuck?
that
makes it.
follow us.
Do we stand?
No, that makes it seem like we're weird Elon bros. This is such a bad start.
Yeah, fuck Elon Musk.
Oh my goodness. I mean, yes. We should. I've been meaning to make a Twitter. And I will after this if I'm not tired.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'll run it.
Yes. Can someone do things? I mean, we'll all run it. But you post the funny tweets, and I post the informational stuff that people will.
The Diablo Twitter posted today that Twitter's always been hell, which I thought was funny.
It's I don't like. Have y'all seen the thing about the Snickers dick vein?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good bit. They should.
They thought people wouldn't care.
Well, okay, hold on. They didn't actually remove the dick vein, right?
No. They canceled it.
They canceled the removal of the dick vein. Yes.
Correct.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All is
I
well.
just thought it was funny. Tucker Carlson did a whole segment on it.
No, I need to see the video because I've seen that picture. I refuse to believe that there is a full segment on it.
Dude, no. Like,
No, Joe's finding it. It can't be.
Oh God.
Willer, Fox News or whatever he's on is just actually the worst.
No,
man.
I watched a whole video. I didn't know anything about Tucker Carlson until I watched a video by a YouTuber named Jose. He talks about a lot of sitcoms, but then also like a lot of like weird right-wing media people, and that's how I learned. And it was disgusting. Like the fear-mongering that Tucker Carlson pulls out felt really just straight up malicious. But anyway, I guess we are opening with politics today, Bradley. Just like I joked.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's funny because even if he didn't do the Snickers thing, I think just like Trump, Tucker Carlson had a segment on the green M&M, which is kind of the same thing.
He wants to fuck the green M&M, right?
And you know what? That is the one place where he feels human to me, and I'll give him that.
I have some good news and some bad news, but
Okay.
it's the same news. That was a photoshopped image.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the fact that people will entertain the idea says a lot about that guy's content, okay?
Yeah.
Dude, I was at the gym like 3 years ago, and of course it's in my small hometown, so it's like, of course Tucker Carlson's going to be on.
Yeah.
He is doing a talk segment, and like the headliner is the metric system ruining America?
Oh my god.
I was like, are you... You genuinely have to look at these people and go, I think you do a shit ton of cocaine and PCP every morning, and then you are given a camera to talk into.
It's the only reasonable explanation, truly.
It is the only reasonable explanation. Is this people are cracked out of their fucking minds.
Man,
Lovely.
And then don't forget Frog's Gay Man with InfoWars.
Oh my god, Alex Jones. I mean, that guy...
Jones.
No, that guy actually has to be doing drugs. I think that's confirmed,
That guy's
right?
fucked up. Did he get arrested? He lives in Austin.
He lost all 10 lawsuits for the Sandy Hook
And then
trial.
he said he's not going to pay anybody.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was the Sandy Hook deal.
Yeah, he'll get
Yeah.
arrested for it, though.
He pulled the infamous Michael Jordan. Fuck them kids.
Except when Michael Jordan said it was iconic. But
Yeah.
when Alex Infowars says it... Wait, that's... He's not...
It's a double entendre because he's conservative, so it means he's actually into kids.
Okay.
But also, he doesn't care if they die.
Well, that's especially true. All right. What do we got for our free talks? I don't know if anyone. There was a news story that I wanted to bring up.
Oh shit.
Well,
Which one? We just talked about 3.
We just did. We're getting topical. Like, this is a nice little time bubble. Kingdom Hearts 4 got announced. That's equally controversial. to everything we've
Not
mentioned
Kingdom
so
Hearts
far.
Birth by Death Sleep. Kingdom Hearts 4, actually.
The fact that it's a numbered one gets me invested immediately. Like, okay, we're not actually fucking around this time. We're progressing the story right away. Just good.
Man.
What
Even the Moro
about
account that's actually on his ass now. They get shit done.
Well, he's not split between 3 projects now, so like people saying this will take another 7 years. Kingdom Hearts 3 did not take actually that long since its announcement, and like it went through them figuring out Unreal Engine, and now that that's out of the way, these games will be coming out a lot faster. In between mobile garbage that they put out, but
something else that's not as topical, but we could talk about it is the Johnny Depp trial.
Oh, yeah.
Going on.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping.
It is a clown fiesta.
It's a fucking clown shoe.
They got 2 interns to manage Amber Heard. These are 2 intern lawyers, and their strategy is don't let Johnny Depp talk.
Brilliant.
And I was sitting here. I was like, I was like, the internet's clowning on this lawyer, and I'm like, the stuff he's saying is so stupid. I refuse to believe, someone could be representing someone as, prolific as Amber Heard. So I was like, I wanted to see if there are lawyers on the internet who can explain to me why what he's doing might actually be a good strategy.
Yeah. So we're too young to know this, but this is how a lot of celebrity trials go. Not a lot of us were alive to see the OJ trials.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was born that year, I think.
Yeah, but like a lot of that shit was like, if the glove does not fit, you must acquit, and it's like they even bring in the right glove.
I watched a documentary that frames that as a pretty brilliant move down in history. Because that's the thing. Because he angled his hand weird, so like, look guys, the glove clearly doesn't fit, and it was like a really impactful visual.
Damn.
Yes. So it's stupid. It's stupid. And I'm like, the way this case is going, despite all the great evidence and all the support people have for like Johnny Depp, I'm like, I don't think he's gonna win. I genuinely don't. These retarded lawyers are pulling these legal and fair tactics to just not let him talk.
Seems like they're pretty brilliant to me if they're winning.
So I saw a lawyer talking about it, and specifically he was talking about like the fact that there's a million clips of the lawyer cutting off Depp to say hearsay, and he's like, here's the thing. He's like, he kind of opens with like, yeah, no, I don't like this lawyer. He's like, specifically, what hearsay means in court is it means you are trying to use something someone said outside of the court to prove something.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna be real. There are a lot of the clips where what Johnny Depp was saying could be considered hearsay.
I agree.
But he's like, there are just as many where he's like, honestly, I don't agree with that lawyer. I don't think that counts as hearsay. And also, he's like, even if something was, there's the court, but there's also the jury and the court of public opinion. And even if that lawyer was fully justified, which this other lawyer doesn't think he was, he's like, people are not going to be on your side.
I haven't fully kept up with, so like this story comes from an interesting place from what I understand, because at first Amber Heard like released a video of Johnny Depp seemingly getting aggressive with her, which turned the entire internet against. She basically weaponized the Me Too movement in a really malicious but smart way at the time, is how I understand it. But like the clip is apparently like him hitting cupboards and like furniture. So basically hitting everything but her, which is a pretty controlled response if you're incredibly angry. So like even the start of it doesn't bode like particularly negatively towards Johnny Depp.
It's like have you never been in an argument with someone before that's actually angry? Like my parents did that shit all the time. They would slam doors and whatnot around me.
The lawyer is like, he was drunk at a movie premiere, and I'm like, who fucking cares? He made a movie, let him get drunk at the premiere.
Yeah.
My favorite response to that was Johnny Depp was like, "Isn't that hearsay?"
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Get fucked.
Because
he goes, you were drinking a lot. He goes, were you there?
Yeah.
Oh man, one of the things the lawyer's like, I have other things, I have other uses for your throat other than injury. And, that makes me go, oh, he does he?
Oh, hey.
Oh man, that is what the fuck.
Yeah, like they're like, what is he? He's gonna hurt her. He's gonna hurt her throat. I'm like, I don't think that's what he meant.
Yeah.
No, this is the one. The lawyer was I just saw this one today. The lawyer was like, "Is it true that you got the wine and poured yourself a mega pint of
A
wine?"
mega pint.
Like the courtroom just paused for a few seconds, and Johnny Depp smiled, and he's like, "A mega pint."
A mega pint.
He's like, "I poured a large glass."
Oh my god! Even I could like lawyer the shit out of that situation. It's like, you want to explain to me exactly what a megapint is? You want to get a scientist to come measure the megapint?
He just sounds like Jack Sparrow when he says the megapint line too. He goes, "Oh, a megapint."
And the thing is like, I feel like to disprove that, all you need to do is bring out a wine glass and a wine ball and ask anyone to pour a glass of wine, and then, you know, just any person.
That's that's that OJ glove won't fit kind of like visual.
You have like an expert say like that's like 3 or 4 glasses of wine technically, because no one actually follows rules for wine pour. You just fill your glass up.
Oh, dude, I fill that motherfucker up.
Yeah.
Anywho, if Saul was here, this trial would already be done.
Fucking Huel. Oh, yeah, Better Call.
Speaking of, we've been watching Better Call Saul.
It's out.
Joe and I watched the 3rd episode of the season, and if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
I think I figured out the plot for Jimmy and Kim already.
Oh, dude, really?
Well, I talked to you about it.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I thought you did more thinking when you got home. Yeah, Joe and I paused and looked at their little plot board, their Kanban board that they had for their scheme, and we figured some shit out. Well, kind of. We'll see.
Yeah. Did you watch it, Bradley, this week's?
I watched last week's, not this week's.
I would suggest that if you have some time, do so, because
sounds hot.
Spoilers could happen with this kind of episode.
Oh yeah.
So that's all I'll say. Anyone, because I know there are some listeners who do care about our opinions and want to get in the discussion with Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. We'll talk about it after episode 7. We'll actually have a proper segment for it.
Yeah.
That aside, is anything else worth bringing up here? What else is going on in our world? Or the small things you've been checking out? I've been watching a lot of Taskmaster, and that's like arguably a full segment worthy once I'm caught up of my favorite tasks in Taskmasters, just for funsies. That is
great.
Incredibly fun. It's a British comedy show that is available on YouTube, which makes it available to everyone. And it's basically a bunch of comedians having to do random tasks for a larger comedian, both in fame and size. He judges how you accomplish the tasks. And it's not like nonsense either. You do have to like use your wits and be clever with these tasks, which makes them really funny. So I recommend people check that out as well.
So fun fact about Greg Davis, the Taskmaster, he used to be a school teacher. And every once in a while he has to pull out his school teacher methodologies against the contestants.
The other episode I watched, he was like, first of all, something, something, something. Second of all, do not disrespect me. And like, it wasn't said as a joke. No one laughed in the audience. The dude just nods. It's like, okay, that's that teacher vibe.
Yeah.
I've also been playing Elden Ring. I've been continuing that, and I've recently started diving into something. I don't know if it's worth bringing up yet. But there is a RPG series that I've been keen to check out for a while now.
Tales? Not Tales. Cold Steel.
Trails of Blank series. So, like, there's Trails of Sky, or Trails in the Sky is the first one, but I jumped to, like, the second series. The reason why I want to check it out is because I've been told it's, like, the JRPG equivalent of One Piece, where every single one of these RPGs takes place in the same world in a continuous storyline with insane world building and like NPCs that are actually have their own lives going on and will reference things that you do in the game and things that have happened in the past, and like protagonists from previous games showing up as heroes or villains. Like all like I can't think of like a game series that would have such a long running connected storyline that's been running since like PS2 era, I think. Is no, even before, because the actual company celebrated their 40-year anniversary recently.
Holy shit.
So that means they are like a pioneer alongside Square Enix and Squaresoft.
Damn.
As far as JRPGs goes, and I think a lot of the old ones feed into the current storyline of what they're putting out now. So I've played 3 hours of it, and like, you ever play something where it's like, I can't explain why, but this is just good? It should be generic by all means, but I feel like the dialogue and the characters feel real already, and it's only been a few hours. And like the art style isn't like anything to write home about. They look pretty generically anime, I'd feel, but the writing is really kind of sucking me in. So, and the combat seems cool from the little I've gotten to do. So the thing is, I don't know, like, I was really close to finishing Final Fantasy V, and I'm going on a plane soon to Disney, which is worth mentioning. We're all going to Disney tomorrow.
This is our yearly Disney trip.
I don't like the fact that we could very easily be perceived as full-on Disney adults when only Joe is the Disney adult.
I just invite y'all along. Y'all don't even have to come, because I'll go regardless.
Oh, you will.
I thank you for soaking in the blame. That's so we can feel safe about our yearly trips at this point.
Man, I just like going to Florida.
Yeah,
You like going to Florida, huh?
It's not the worst place to go for a week at a time.
Dude, Caled's a fun area to visit if you want to go kill the giant birds. Anyways, because I'll be on the plane, I have a chance to finish Final Fantasy V because I'm so close. So maybe I need to. I don't know which of these giant RPG series I should continue playing, is basically. But now I can do stuff now that Elden Ring is taking a backseat in my life. But anyways, I think that's all the things I wanted to bring up. What else y'all got?
I finished BioShock 2 last night. Good game. Combat fun. Will and I started playing BioShock together on our Better Call Saul nights.
Yes.
So we're gonna run through that.
We call it the B&B night. BioShock and Better Call Saul.
And it also relates to Breaking Bad, kind of, because, you know, why not? What else? I've been reading a fuck ton of Berserk. We'll talk about that later sometime in the future.
Boy, will we, apparently.
Yeah.
Joe's got some fun stuff planned for any Berserk fans out there.
Yes, I'm going to have to get an overhead projector.
Oh, no.
By overhead projector, I just mean like a camera that can probably look down at my book.
I figured.
So I can point at things. What else is there? I think that's really it. I've played Lego Star Wars, a new one. The game was really fun. But it's very short. Like, each episode takes about an hour, which is a little bit disappointing. But at the same time, it just means I can run through it very quickly and finish it up when I want to do anything.
Did you beat it?
No, it's just one of those games where it's like, I really just want to just chill out for a minute and not worry about anything, so I'll boot up and play it. And then that game is hella funny, by the way. That game is meme central. It's crazy. It's super self-aware of everything. What else is there? That's about it.
Now, for me, I'm in my mid Genshin update depression where we're about exactly halfway between the last update and the next update. So it's like I finished everything from the past update, but I also don't have anything to look forward to. So I just kind of sit in my apartment on the floor in the dark all day. So yeah.
Oh, Bradley. Throw on Taskmaster in the background. It'll make you feel better.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm in a weird depression where I'm like redoing stuff I've already done. Like I'm watching Parks and Rec again.
Yo.
I finished watching Overlord again to prepare for season 4 coming out this year.
Yo.
Nice.
I rewatched it in English. Doesn't have the worst English dub. But it's weird that when I started watching that show, I'm like, oh, this is fun, you know? Like, it's not great, but it's fun. to now I'm like, oh, this is really cringy. I wish this was more mature.
What
Tyler grew
over? Did you grow? Did I just witness character development?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Are you tired of your isekai enslave and rape plot lines that seem to be in all of them for some reason?
He doesn't slave or I almost said in rape or rape anyone. In Overlord, he just kills people.
I thought this was the one where he enslaves all the lizards because it's cool to do, I guess, in the genre.
I mean, he does that casually. But
oh, come on!
He doesn't rape anybody.
Oh, okay. All right. I draw the line. I'm okay with the slavery, but I draw the line there. That's good.
Yeah, like he takes over a village through peaceful methods, and then he takes over a village through wartime methods. So he's experimenting which like group has faster progression in terms of like leveling up the NPCs.
All right, that is vaguely interesting. Move on. I get it. You get a pass.
I started playing Civ 6 again just cause, and Architect, and the games are still fun. Just nothing. Terraria almost has a 1.4.4 update.
Oh, I should talk about my Terraria experience. It's
Oh shit!
people have been dying for that.
I don't want to be here to talk to hear Will's
I'm not enjoying playing.
Yeah, like you need to do this when we're not around. Because
But you guys are integral players to this story.
You will never convince us. We will stab you in your sleep. We're about to spend a week with you.
Briefly, because I mean, last podcast, if you'll recall, ended with like, "Y'all, Willer's gonna play Terraria with us." It was such good times back then, right? So we start our first Terraria night. And previously, now I didn't say this to everyone, but I know Joe and Ashlyn were there, our friend Ashlyn, and we're like, okay, I want to do like a chill one where we don't play as much and we like go in at around the same times. And she's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. Trevor didn't say anything, but he seemed to be agreeing with it. And then we start, and I'm having fun. Now, actually, as soon as we start, it's just chaos. I have to say those first 15 minutes of Terraria were like D-Day tier as far as video games are concerned. Of
It's just people dying every 2 seconds.
Death everywhere. There's a house built by the time I could figure out how to swing a weapon. It was actual insanity. And then
By house, Willer means square box.
well, I don't know. There was like a dent that seemed roof-esque. So like
That's a box.
I don't know. It had a 1 degree of decoration, and that was all good. That game, just off the bat, I think that game's night cycles are way too long. But maybe it's less of a problem if you're playing on easier difficulties. And
They do seem really long in that server that we're playing on.
maybe it's not the standard that we're dealing with, but like it did become a thing where it's like, well, I'm not particularly strong enough, so I kind of have to wait out the night sequences or dig. But digging also leads to death. But anyways, okay, I log off. Everyone else proceeds to play another 6 hours without me. And then that doubles the next day because I couldn't play as much as well. So it's like, oh, well, Willer, we're waiting to do all the bosses and fights with you. It's like, but y'all build all the houses and all the tunnels. Like the actual fun exploration stuff. And this was my hot take. I don't think the Terraria combat is that good. I think it's a little one note. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Like, tell me your opinions on these combats, because everyone was trying to stone me at the courtyard for daring to go against the Terraria combat.
For me, I didn't like the combat until I did expert mode, which we were doing. And you know what? If you don't like the combat, I could see. Here's the thing: I totally understand not liking the combat, because I do kind of get it. Like, the one concession I'll really give is, while there are a lot of the Terraria bosses I like, sometimes the enemies I can see it getting stale, because a lot of the enemies are just like reskinned zombies with different amounts of health.
I think the comparison that felt most apt, and I was trying to work through, like, is this just like, is this genre doomed to have combat I don't like? But then I thought of Spelunky, which has randomized environments and random enemy placements, but because your moves are very tailored, like you don't have that many actions you can do, the enemies have one distinct like verb they can do, so they combine in interesting ways. I feel like the Terraria enemies are kind of missing out on those verbs.
Yeah. Now, I think for me at least, the joy in the combat isn't necessarily skill expression, which I think is where it probably hurts Willer a lot, because, like, I know you like skill expression in a game.
I do like. I do.
For me, I get the same feeling I get in Metroid, where I don't know, I find new gear and I'm like, holy fuck, I feel like so much more of a beast than I did the last time I fought this boss.
Man, but those Metroid enemies do have verbs. Like an enemy that swoops down at an angle in a Metroid already adds a mini puzzle if it shows up, and it's like the most obvious thing. It just moves in a little parabola, but like combine that with an enemy that shoots like a unblockable drill from the front or something, and like all of a sudden you have a little mini puzzle. And I feel like in Terraria it's just like a lot of stuff moves at you and you kind of just knock them away.
Yeah, a lot of stuff moves at you and you knock it away.
Anywho, I don't want to harp on this for too long.
You didn't get into hard mode, so that's like the real, like, everything you've been playing is just the tutorial, so you didn't make it out of the tutorial.
That's crazy. That's wild.
See, that's where I had a ton of fun playing this with Tyler and Austin, is because, I don't know, in base Terraria, the first time I ever played Terraria was like the normal difficulty or whatever, and I thought it was fucking hard. I didn't know it was actually the easiest game ever. Then I played it. Man, this sounds so weird to people who don't know Terraria, but we played expert hard mode, because you can do non-expert hard mode. Hard mode is a state of the game, not a difficulty.
That is weird, even to me.
Yeah.
But holy shit. It got to the point where it's like, later in the game, if you're not like literally like, we had to like fucking theory craft these fights and figure out how to min-max it, or else we were just going to get slaughtered. And that's the part that's fun to me. Because like, you know me, like in League, I'm a person who likes to, I don't like to porofessor my runes. I like to look through read them and figure out what they do and figure out what I want to do. And so that's why I like Terraria, is, you know, later in the game when I'm having to figure out, like, I only got 6 accessory slots, I better fucking use them well.
I think you can only play Terraria really, like you can play Terraria as many times as you want. It's got great replay value, but you can only experience Terraria once. Because like we played that hard, like when we played, Bradley, I didn't realize that was you and Austin playing again for like the first time in forever.
Oh yeah, I hadn't played in years.
Yeah, and like so much content had come out and so much had changed.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, y'all know the game. But it was like, no, we were all figuring it out. There was only 3 of us on the server instead of 8. And none of us are like super builders. So like our progression was like fighting the bosses and stuff.
It's like
probably more normal.
If I was a 4th in that first time, I probably would have enjoyed Terraria. Like, I feel like having a smaller crew would have gone a long way. We have a crew of like 8 really dedicated seasoned vets, and then little old me. So my contribution and playtime, like those combined, make me feel very useless. But if it was a smaller crew, I think I would have had more impact.
And you know what? The last time we played Terraria, I think I was still working part-time because I was in 2020 when the world didn't exist. Mm-hmm. This time I have a full-time big boy job, so I can't stay up till 3 a.m. playing anymore.
Yeah.
It's probably for the best.
It is for the best.
When we played Terraria 1.3, like 0.5 or something, I didn't have a job. Oh, that was...
We were playing like 24 hours a day.
You guys, I was worried.
I literally was playing all day, every day.
I feel like y'all put 40 hours in about 3 days. It was disgusting.
It might even be worse than that. I don't know.
Y'all, I didn't have a job. I was peak depression. Let me play with some fucking blocks.
Oh, dude, no, fair play. More power to you. So, in summary, my Terraria experience is categorized as a D tier experience, but it goes up to a C- when I'm pranking y'all. Which has become my new niche, is small pranks. If I had more know-how, I wanted to become the Riddler, and make y'all go through riddles at the risk of me bombing your structures and destroying your goods.
But Willard,
That would
look what
actually
you
be
can
kinda fun.
look in midcast chat. Look what you can make in Terraria.
That's in Terraria?
Yeah.
That's impressive. Good on them.
Yeah. That Willard's had a D tier experience, and that made me upset. So now I'm going to I'm making a new multiplayer RPG adventure game.
Tyler
he's
said I'm
just
gonna make
half
my
dead.
own Terraria.
Yeah.
This reminds me of how Super Eye Patch Wolf was created. Bradley, you know the streamer Wooly. You've been introduced to him through 13 Sentinels.
Oh, it was
On Wooly's podcast long ago, he said Hunter x Hunter was bad, which created the entirety of Super Eye Patch Wolf.
I'm gonna make a channel to tell this motherfucker how wrong he is.
Like I've told y'all, I think I've narrowed down in what circumstance Terraria could be a B or A to me. I don't know if it could be an A because I do think the combat and the night cycles hold me back, but under certain circumstances, this could be really fun. So maybe in the future.
Modded, and there is something. So we have some nice quality of life mods for people who have played before. But if you have never played, which we had 2 people that never had, and one of them doesn't care about combat, which is what Terraria is in contrast to Minecraft. It is very combat-based progression. It is not building progression.
Yeah, I guess in contrast, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little... It was kind of... Like, we have a mod that's like, every time you kill a boss, you get an NPC of that boss.
I do not
And
like that.
It is good UX.
Why is that
However-
bad? So, like, here's the thing. I don't even understand why that's bad. Like, stuff moves so fast in the server, I don't actually understand some of the things that are happening sometimes.
So, something about that is whenever you kill a boss, you get a loot bag. That loot bag has random drops in it from, like, a loot pool that the boss has.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes that not good is usually you will have to grind out a boss multiple times to sometimes get an item you want. But if you're playing with like 3 or 4 people, you usually will get all of those items, or mostly all of them, and then you have to like trade around with your friends, figure out what you want. And it's like, if you didn't get something, then it's like, yo, Bradley and Austin, we gotta fight the Queen Bee again. And they're like, all right, let's fucking do it. It kind of detracts from that gameplay experience. It creates a much more expedited experience.
It takes away the grind, but you like the grind, basically.
It's like think about it like this. While Terraria bosses are not probably even 1% as fleshed out as Monster Hunter monsters,
How dare you?
it would be kind of lame if you only ever had to beat a Monster Hunter monster once and then never fight it again.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't even know that was a problem. See, like, I'm that out of the loop, and I have like 15 hours in this game. That's not an insignificant amount.
That's a solid day's
It's enough for me to have an opinion, at least, you know.
Yeah, so.
But anywho,
Willard played the tutorial and was like, "This game's impossible."
He's seen it at least.
dude, how do I get past this Legend Cuphead? It just can't be done.
We'll come back to our exploratory adventures when the 3 of these people decide to play Factorio.
Well, Bradley will. I think he's
For
into
me,
it.
actually, yes. Because let's be real.
Joe, Parkitect multiplayer win.
I mean, you fucking set up a server with you and your girlfriend and didn't invite me, so I'm gonna let you just do that, bro.
Oh, that's fucked up.
I didn't even know the game had a multiplayer.
Yeah,
I thought that was the board game we play. Oh God.
Park
No,
Yeah.
No.
I just wanted to get her playing a game with me.
Yeah, that's fair.
League's right there.
No, but a good one.
Yeah, you're right.
Anywho, Joe, did you have anything you wanted to bring up? You could talk about MLB the Shoe, which is what you wrote down, which I thought was very funny.
MLB the Shoe is you basically run the Major League Baseball's shoe distributor. So you need to make sure that enough shoes get to enough players in time. It's a really fun management game. It comes with a weird mini game called MLB the Show, where you get to play as a player on the baseball team.
Oh, that's pretty different.
Yeah, it's very different. All jokes aside, I decided to get MLB the Show out for shits and giggles. And I just then put in, I think, a solid 20 hours into the game over the course of 3 days, which is pretty good considering I do not play sports games.
Dude, one of my roommates played the shit out of MLB the Show, would get the new one every year.
Mm-hmm.
And watching him play it, that game actually really impressed me, especially compared to
Madden?
in NCAA Madden and stuff, which me and my brother used to get them, and we probably stopped around like 2008 because we're like, all right, we get it. But I think in the MLB the Show, when he was showing me the differences between them, I was like, they actually kind of fucking put effort and thought into, because like baseball is baseball. The game is not change. I feel like they actually put a lot of thought into how can we make this one different than the previous one. And man, he would get into it, especially that mode where it's like the career mode.
Yeah.
And the one he was playing, you can like trade for players on other team, and you have to like offer them salaries, and he'd be yelling in the other room like, "This guy's fucking me." So I was like, I was impressed.
So the game is like 3 or 4 games in one, which is weird to say, because it has your career mode, which is like you make a player, you choose a position, and then you play your entire like player's like career life essentially. Then there's franchise mode where you pick one of your teams and you run their franchise for like a year or two trying to get into the World Series. And then there's Diamond Dynasty, which is the gacha portion of the game where you collect baseball cards and create like all-star baseball teams and use them to compete against other players. So it's a game that has a lot of content in it. I've been just playing the solo like career mode as a pitcher, and like pitching's fun because you have to put input motions like in a fighting game to throw your pitch correctly, and if you fuck it up, your pitch goes wild and everything. It's like wow, an actual game like compared to Madden, where Madden's just like I'm gonna pick this play, and then your guy runs for you, and then maybe you don't get tackled. Good game. Solid 9 out of 10.
Damn. Joe,
I really like that game.
Joe
I would not
reserves
play the show every year. That seems excessive. Like, I really just wish sports games would like do a 5-year plan. But hey,
all right.
whatever.
Impromptu tier list.
Yeah.
Let's rank the sports games. Okay.
Okay.
We're just gonna take it off the cuff. Give me a letter grade when I say the sports game. All right.
Okay. All right.
FIFA.
F.
B.
F. F is for FIFA.
F is for FIFA.
F is for FIFA.
Wait okay. I thought FIFA was pretty good. It like
I mean,
I say B because it is a pretty good game.
to be fair, I am not the person who would play
FIFA prints money. That's about it.
okay. That
It's a weird device that it's weird.
all right.
that
The exercise is over because we're gonna use the same excuse for all of them then because they're all money printers.
No,
Yeah.
NCAA though is B because it had a mode in one of them where your team, you could play as the mascot for your team instead of the players, and I thought that was fun.
However, it's also a dead franchise. So, so F.
Also, you're forgetting Street Hoops. Definitely S game. And dude,
What
yes.
about the backyard sports series, like backyard baseball?
S.
That game is
S.
for babies.
Okay,
MLB is clearly A or S according to the MLB players. NF Madden though, I want to say that's like a C, man. Madden is just inconsistent.
D. I would say a D.
Everyone buy Totally Baseball on Steam. Best VR game there. Okay, not the best VR game, but it's fun.
Half-Life Alex over here on Suicide Watch as it cowers.
Super fun VR baseball game, and I developed it. So,
There
what
you
about
go.
Blitz? What about Blitz the League?
I don't even remember which one that is.
That's a football game.
That's the one where, like, when you tackle people, it does the Mortal Kombat bone breaking zoom in.
Oh man,
Yeah, it's all about breaking bones and like just beating the shit out of people.
I feel like I'm missing one, and it's probably like NHL. So let's move on. Those are the opinions. Leave like
2K basketball.
Oh,
Mario Golf.
2K. I mean, 2K wins if it's that one where Spike Lee directed the story, because it was fucking hilariously bad.
What's the car soccer game?
Rocket League, solid B.
Is Rocket League a sport?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it, I guess.
Sure.
Everything's-
Mario games S, clearly they have the
Mario
most
moves
death.
3 on 3.
Yo, Mario Soccer comes out in June, gang.
Mario Tennis Aces. Mic drop. Gdunk. All right. Next topic. Joe talked about Lego Star Wars. Joe, let's talk about Goodbye Airy.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to set the stage for a mind-bending journey?
Oh god.
Oh my god. So Goodbye Airy. Goodbye Airy is about a boy who videotapes the last few months of his mother's life and makes it into a movie, but then kind of like turns the ending into like a big the hospital explodes, and then he meets a girl who's like, let's make another movie because I really like that movie. And that's all I am going to say about that one shot.
Yeah.
It's a one shot by the Chainsaw Man's mangaka.
Yes, Tatsumoto shit. Fuck, I need to know his name. It's Fujimoto is his last name. You need to know it because he's the hottest kid in town. Making exclusively
anyway,
Kino.
I read this. This one shot is fucking like one of the best things I've read this year.
Brilliant. It's about 180 pages. So about like a volume's worth of manga, if I'm remembering right.
It's an actual like short novel kind of thing, I would say.
It's like he shows that video that video that we're talking about where he films his mom's final days is kind of like the first 26 pages of the story, and then it takes off from there.
Mm-hmm. And then when you think it's over, it's not, and it keeps going.
It goes and it goes and goes, and it's just like it gets really heartbreaking, and then you hit the explosion, and you realize he's showing it to his like classes, like show and tell at like a festival, like a talent show, and it's received very poorly, and very people are judging him for taking the death of his own mother and adding in like a goofy explosion and taking the piss out of it, and it's like, well, this is how I'm coping with it. I can't believe I'm getting bullied over this. And then he's gonna commit suicide, and Eri shows up and kind of saves his life, and then they have a budding romance that leads to him filming a new movie, and that new movie is shown later in the one shot, and then there's a bit of story after that kind of jumps in the future a little bit and gets even wilder.
There's the moment at the end where the main character and Eri are like looking at each other, and she's talking to him, and she mentioned, I thought the ending of that thing was brilliant. Like,
I want to ask a question, but I also don't want to spoil it. In case, I don't know if you guys care. But spoiler free, at least, we'll say, do pause right now and go read this, because it's a short read that's completely worth your time and is absolutely brilliant. But was she telling the truth about what she was saying there at the end? What was even happening, Joe? What is your take?
So I'm gonna Bradley, I would recommend you read this, Bradley. Unspoiled.
Yeah, as soon as you guys described the concept, and said it was a one shot, I'm like, yeah, fuck it.
You should deafen yourself while I talk to Will about this.
Run!
Yeah,
He's gone.
Okay, so Eri has a line where it's like you blur the lines of like what's real and what's not real.
Yeah.
Right. And so what it is, he mentions how like he tries to edit the ending, he can't get the editing right. And if I'm remembering the paneling correctly, I can go look it up, there's never a scene in that paneling where they are next to each other in the same panel. It's always like a back and forth shot. So to me, he had the ending of Eri, him going back and fighting Eri, and Eri saying that, and then edited later with like his older self, and then blew up the hospital. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. I that's kind of what I thought. But you never know. You never know with Fujimoto.
But that's also the point of like you don't know if it's real or not. That's also the point.
I think you can bring Bradley on back. I'm just going to talk about some of themes and like kind of the structure of the story. Like you're saying, like a big theme of it is blurring the lines between reality and fiction. And what do you think this was like? I feel like this is saying something about Fujimoto and his creative process. And
well, I think part of it too is like you add a bit of spice to the fantasy to like the world that's happening around you, and it has a bigger impact of like what happens. Does that make sense?
yeah, adding
Like-
that spice makes it more impactful at the end.
Right. Because it weirdly enough makes it makes that small bit of like actual feelings more real and more genuine.
That's why I think it's really a reflection on this artist's own creative process, because he writes stories that are very emotionally driven and then go off the wall. And it can seem childish and almost taking away from the point, but I think he's defending his own creative process where it's saying, no, I'm doing this to heighten the emotions, and you can argue that he's succeeding greatly, because this is someone in Shonen Jump that's making really mature stories, and they're selling, and they're doing well, and everyone's fanboying and fangirling over in Chainsaw Man. And if you haven't heard of Chainsaw Man yet, get ready, because in the next 2 years you're gonna get sick of hearing it, because it's going to blow up so bad. Yeah,
the amount of manga since they're going to show up is going to drive me insane.
so like this guy is making waves, and like what he's doing, especially in the bounds of like how hard it is to make manga in Shonen Jump of all places, is like absolutely incredible. The fact that they published this one shot is already pretty wild to me.
You can still get on their Shonen Jump website and app, by the way.
It's timed. Why is it timed?
It was timed for free. Like you can't like it's like the first chapters are like One Piece.
Gotcha.
Like the latest chapter.
Yeah, you have to buy it for like $2 or $3 in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you have the subscription, you can still read it. So
I'll bring up some other things. Like the dad is a fantastic character, and they do there's a really cool scene with the dad that caught me way off guard around the middle point.
was it when they're at the dining room table?
Yes, that's a fantastic scene. I like when you meet Aries' other friend. You meet her briefly, and it kind of casts doubt on the entire story a little bit, but in a really satisfying and realistic way that kind of fits the theme of like blending the lines of reality and fiction.
Yeah. Also, this like, so I've been reading the Berserk. Like, this is like Berserk is dark and gruesome for like horror sense. This is just like sad dark. Like, it's too real. Like, what's happening? Like, you're just like, this sucks.
Yeah, like it goes there, and it's tragic, but it's also really funny and cute, and at the end of it, it's really a story about finding a reason to go on after loss. Yeah. Especially with how literally you want to take some of the final bits of the story, like, and it's a really good exercise of like, he hasn't made anything during the entire COVID era, so I like these COVID manga are really interesting because it feels like artists kind of getting more fatalistic with some of their stories and getting to like some real good life lessons through them, because I feel like from what I've heard, Araki's most recent one shot also kind of goes into like frustrations that he was facing during COVID, but didn't come through Dojolion because he was still wrapping up that story. So it's just interesting. Like, a lot of cool stuff is coming out of the Japan manga scene right now. Again, read this story. I think it's better than Chainsaw Man, and Chainsaw Man is already great. So like,
I'm excited to see what else he does.
Fujimoto's on fire. Very much looking forward to Chainsaw Man Part 2, which I think is still supposed to happen, allegedly.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. All right. What do we got next? I lost my place here in a little docket. We got Archive 81. I think Tyler briefly brought this up, but it seemed pretty cool.
Yeah. So this is another Netflix horror TV series. This show started off really strong. Like, I was having a great time. Good plot, and it reminds me of like how much I enjoyed The Haunting at Hill House there at the very start, because it is all just like, it's all scary at the very beginning, you know, like it sets it up to be like a horror premise. But you know, you can't do a TV series out of a horror show very well, so it falls off very quick.
I was
I
afraid
binged-
you'd say that.
I binged this show entirely in one night. So I'll give you the basic premise. This show is about a guy who restores old videotapes. And it can be like cassette tapes, videotape, VHS tapes, or anything that uses like the tape format.
Mm-hmm.
And he is hired by this company to restore these series of tapes. It's very weird that the company is hiring him to do this. There's a bunch of plot twists around him being hired to do this. So that's all I'll say if like you want to go watch it.
Yeah, how long is this? Because
It's I think it's about 8 or 9. It might be 10 episodes. It's less than 10 episodes.
comparing it to Haunting of Hill House is pretty, because like Haunting of Hill House is a really, really good TV show.
I overall liked it better than Haunting at Hill House.
Okay, I need to watch it still, because I think Haunting of Hill House is 9 excellent episodes and then one pretty poor finale. I don't know how you feel.
and I am like, this show also has a poor finale because both of the shows were set up by the Netflix producers to create multiple seasons.
Yeah.
Because they have this AAA formula where they're like, oh, we're gonna make 2 seasons and then cancel the show. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
we didn't talk about it, but Netflix is really struggling right now.
Yeah,
Netflix
yeah.
is shooting itself in the book. It's shooting itself in the foot with a fucking like AA-12 right now.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wish the show hadn't. I grew up watching very bad sci-fi original movies and TV shows. I'm a huge fan of how fun they are. This show, I think I even cried during one of the episodes because I liked the tension it was building up. Like, I wasn't like bawling, but like my eyes started watering because I was like panicking. I was like, oh my god, this tension's great.
Oh, that sounds great.
I was like, it's like pitch black, middle of the house at like 2 a.m. by myself, like wigging out.
Now that's a vibe.
Yeah, like I loved it. Also, it was in the theater room, so you know, extra vibes. Yeah, the show really holds on to the sci-fi premise as well, which I liked, because Hill House let go of it very quick. And that was something I didn't like as much, but this one really holds on to the sci-fi element as well. It could probably be compared to Stranger Things a little bit for plot points.
Okay.
But I still found it to be really interesting. It was a unique plot. The resolution was odd. There were a lot of ups and downs, and the very last episode really did just make me go, what the fuck? Like, there was a plot twist out of the middle of nowhere that doesn't really make any sense.
How hard is the drop? Like, is it...
It made it go from, like, a good 9 out of 10 to, like, a 7 out of 10.
Ah, man. Should I even...
I think you should. I think you should still. I would still recommend it to people.
You know what? Tyler also said I would really like it.
Patient's going to die.
I'm sorry, Joe, what?
We need a second opinion.
Yeah,
yeah.
I would still recommend it to people because people like The Haunting at Hill House still, you know, like they're not as anal as we are about the content we consume.
I mean,
So I would still recommend it to people.
I still walk around of Haunting of Hill House saying it was a good show. I don't feel like we're that anal. I was just thinking of, like, you mentioned Stranger Things, and I was like, I feel like I'm the only person that I know that still watches Stranger Things.
I'm so excited for season 4.
God.
Because here's the thing, hottest take ever, and I don't know why it's so hot. Season 3 of Stranger Things is like the best of the 3 seasons. So when everyone's like, well, this show has gone downhill heavily, I was like, I don't really agree. I think people just get impatient with the fact that it takes so long for a season to come out. I don't think it's particularly worse than the first season, which I really like the first season. So I don't know.
I like it all.
I think people are weirdly harsh on a fairly good show with very likable characters, but whatever.
Archive 81 though. I would recommend it. It's
All right.
got some
I'm
good
booting
shit.
it up. I'm booting it up after this while I play some video games on the side.
It is not a side piece show.
Ah man, but I okay, well,
You can try it, but I would not recommend it to be a side piece show.
all right. We'll see how I'm doing.
All right.
All right, and then also tell me what's going on with Black Clover these days.
All right. I guess I'm a Black Clover stan, even though I don't like to be. Because I don't know. I watched the anime and I was like, this is a good like substitute for Naruto's existence, I guess.
I think so.
Because Boruto's a trash fire. I don't think anybody wants to admit that really, but it is.
I think a lot of people admit it.
Okay. Black Clover is fun. It has a lot of plot holes in it. Every character has plot armor. Like all 15, 20 main characters have plot armor all the time, so like nothing will change too much in the world. But they just finished their like second big arc against fighting demons and stuff. So it was a big deal because they're taking a 3-month break, and holy shit, did we end on a super fucking mega big plot twist. That I go, what the fuck does that mean? How did they just throw this out there in the middle like that? But people have been apparently predicting this potentially for like the last year and a half. Based off of all the content and what the story is based on, which is like demon mythology.
Well, that's good then. That means it's well established.
Yeah. Also, holy shit, there is like an actual explanation for all of the plot armor that happens in this last arc's fight. And it's subtle hints in the background that's been happening the whole time. And it's like the author has been putting it there intentionally, though. It's like, oh, he wouldn't just draw something if it would just like didn't have a purpose. But somebody, like, people have gone back and looked at like all of these things. It like this one thing that's in the background of multiple chapters. It's like in like 8 or 9 chapters, and it's just one piece of scenery. And it's like, why do you keep including this one piece of scenery in the chapters? And it's like, oh shit, that like we're supposed to be looking at that and paying attention, and the characters keep talking about something like this concept, and
this seems like, really good. Did Black Clover get good over time?
I was listening to Tyler talk. I was like, that's good. That's good.
I like that. Like, I like the idea of like a visual that's being shown and you kind of ignore it because you can't see the importance of it, but it gets shown so often that you start seeing meaning in it. I think that kind of stuff is really cool.
I had no idea because like I will say I'm not familiar with like demon mythology and like the 7 circles of hell and like all that type of fantasy content or mythos.
That the fact that Demon Slayer or of Black Clover is getting to that is also like, y'all, you cannot understand how generic Black Clover starts. Like, it is the giga generic manga that I've ever read, and like not always in a bad way, but it seems like it's really become something greater.
It is very generic, but the author also had this plot twist set up from the very first chapter.
I mean, and it's on its final arc. I love me a manga that doesn't overstay its welcome. You know, that's really good.
I have enjoyed it. This last arc, everyone survived. Barely and through plot armor, but I think there is an explanation for why, except actually this one guy may have died. We don't know. That was part of the cliffhanger.
Oh, good old Pell.
Yeah. It wasn't as much Pell as more Pedro type aspect.
Oh shit.
Stop putting this evil in this world. If Pedro comes back, I leave. I can't say that because there's a very non-negative chance Pedro comes back. So I didn't say anything. Whatever.
Come back. He's definitely coming back.
No.
It's really fun seeing like all their magic upgrades, like that people get because they're always like that is something to note. Like they say, like always pull out like, oh, here's my new ultimate move, but like anytime they're not doing shit, they're like they're training arcs. Like anytime combat isn't happening, they're just training to be soldiers like the entire time.
That's not like that's not an inherent plus to me because I want between arcs I like character like kind of low key character moments and slice of life shit. So I don't know.
I mean, the anime has lots of filler for you.
No, thank you.
Don't worry about it.
You misunderstand me, sir.
There's so much slice of life filler in the anime. They could probably make a chibi anime of Black Clover.
I can't even tell if you're saying that because one already exists. Because I bet it would. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
But yeah, like this plot twist made me, man, this shit's entertaining. I'm glad that I include it in my weekly reading.
I'm just glad you have a rotation. I think that's cute.
Yeah, it's Black Clover, and then every 2 weeks I get a Hokkaido Gals, and then One Piece is on about to hit that summer every other 2 weeks all summer long, and I'm just like, ugh.
Don't forget your One Punch Man binges.
Oh shit! Tomorrow's Wednesday. There should be a new chapter. You're right.
Speaking of,
Tyler should read Dan and Dan.
Oh. Man, might, but
wait, Tyler, I'll catch up to Black Clover if you read Down and On. You're reading way less than I am.
Okay, maybe.
Shake my goddamn hand.
Wait, no, we just before this podcast we started talking about we're gonna do Jujutsu.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Fuck that. Fuck everything because I have been so horny for that manga.
Yeah, that anime's never gonna get finished, so might as well read.
Yeah, they're putting too much effort into actually making good production timelines for their crew now.
They should make it like One Piece, where it has the one amazing episode every 10 and just call it a day.
Yeah. One Punch Man. So, I've realized something about this anime and manga now that I think they're about to finish. Like, I think they're on their final part. Like, they're heading towards the end.
They're not even like, it's not even definitive. Don't you see how bad that sounds to me? Like this shit should have been over half a series ago, and they're not even quite at the end.
Willard. He finally did an 80% serious punch.
Fuck up.
No. Y'all. So here's the thing that I don't think a lot of people get who give like this show shit and stuff, which made me realize I'm like, have you watched the One Punch Man anime?
Yeah.
Had it on in the background, at least know. So the anime, that is like the one season, not the second season, but the first season is all of One Punch Man. Like, that is the entire concept, anime, manga of Saitama. And, like, that is his story.
Oh my god.
The rest of the manga that I've been reading is all about the world that surrounds him and this world of heroes.
I was about to say, every time I see panels, I'm like,
who are these?
Where is he?
Saitama still exists. There is still a plot that's moving forward, like, inch by inch, but nobody that's I think I will say this with confidence. In the world of One Punch Man, there's nobody stronger he will fight than the last fight in the first season.
No way. Not even the final fight? There's no way.
Not even Guru. I think he will have to spend no effort on Guru, but I think...
Whoa. Garo is the final villain?
Probably, yeah.
Wait, that's actually really cool.
No, he still just literally backhands him away. There's no effort.
No, I mean, not that.
You don't get Garo's story.
But yes, Garo was the only good part of everything I read.
This is why I'm still reading it.
Oh my god, you're in a bad relationship, but man, she cooks the good eggs, and you just gotta keep coming back.
I'm still in this because, dude, one of the, like, major villains, or like monsters Garo has to fight, its name is Black Sperm.
Okay.
And it's literally like a little thing that splits itself into millions and millions of tiny cells.
Okay,
and
so
they all fight.
To put some context, after the anime, One Punch Man gets really lame, and Saitama goes to this fighting tournament that is the most boring fucking shit. However, they introduced this human who is, like, classified as a monster called Garo. And you get to see him, like, dealing with other monsters and becoming stronger and stronger. And Garo is actually cool and a good part of that series. And he's often paired up with this tiny butt chin child. Or I guess it's more of like a dick balls chin child.
It's a Peter Griffin chin.
Yeah. And those scenes are really cute. Is that child still around, Tyler?
Yeah, he's been in the last chapter. He's actually like the most recent content is between Garo, Saitama, and Butt Chin Child. And Butt Chin Child is like, oh, it's not Butt Chin Child. It's the child that Garo saves from the heroes.
That's Butt Chin Child.
No,
there's other children now.
Yeah.
All right, fuck. I'm not invested anymore. Moving on.
It's his plot device because this child says he's a hero, and like he's like Garo literally like is trying to transform into a monster.
Yeah.
And it's like he's just like, that's his plot device, I guess, is this child. But also, One Punch Man coming at it again with one of the best panels in almost all of manga that I've seen.
Yeah, of course. It's illustrated by the greatest manga artist.
No, it's not like one of those super detailed ones. It's just the "you chicken" panel.
Oh yeah.
Like Saitama is just like, you want to hit me? Go ahead, you chicken. Yeah. Like that's the line. He's just like, it's on there with the okay. Like, I want this as just like a magnet on my fridge.
Anywho, B tier series remains, and that's being generous.
I read B tier manga exclusively.
Okay, Black Sperm looks funny. That's not true. Hey, you read One Piece. Get that shit out of here.
Why didn't we do One Punch Man on tier list?
Because I thought about it. It's nonsensical. I don't give a shit. I really don't care. One Punch Man exists in a world where like at any moment the plot could end by Saitama showing up, but the author is just like, well, I don't want him to yet.
I don't like this Pikmin shit you're posting in chat right now.
Wait. You haven't seen Golden Sperm.
The greatest artist of all time is stuck in this stupid project. I have such a... like, it doesn't deserve the hatred I have, but I've grown to hate One Punch Man, truly.
I think it's solely because of me, too. It's great.
No, it has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with actually being bad.
Black Sperm is great. Look at this cosplay someone did. This shit's fucking dumb. He's got like a morph suit on that he put like a little dildo on the cap of, and then he got that white mask from Hobby Lobby. This is a great cosplay.
That's good. All right. Moving on to our final topic with Tyler here. We all watched everything, everywhere, all at once. EEAO. As it's Yowie, as it's
Yowie
broken down. Well, we haven't talked about this at all. How was y'all's experiences watching this? I went to watch it with Bradley. I was in town and we caught a movie. What did y'all do?
We went to Alamo Drafthouse.
That's nice.
Yeah, movies started at 10 p.m., so we had one of those nice late night movies.
Yeah, it's long. It's a long one. So like,
yeah, I was shocked at how long it was.
Perhaps too long. I would say like my one knock against the movie is that like, unlike Batman, where like it was all plot scenes that needed to happen, so I can't figure out a scene to cut. It's like there's just a lot of action and comedy in this one, where it's like, well, you could have probably trimmed some of that out.
There's too many hot dog finger scenes.
Exactly, especially in the climax of the movie. You can't keep cutting back to hot dog fingers. I get it.
I think it was just like one too many. Like I think I loved it up until like the last one or two occurrences.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Jamie Lee Curtis playing the piano with her feet is hilarious. And
oh my god.
And like the movie is very funny. But man, it doesn't, maybe near the end there we needed to go more serious. That being said, I really liked the movie.
I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It's one of my favorites I've watched this year, I think.
Oh, I mean, it's not a tough competition. I would say it's like one of my favorites I've watched in many years because it's one of the most creative movies ever made. I don't think
it's really unique. Both Willer and I I had watched more of the first trailer than he did, but I don't know if either of us watched the entire first trailer.
I knew one. I knew one visual from the movie. It's the scene where she's getting like wheeled around in the chair, which is very early in the movie. So I knew
just
nothing.
like, I don't know, like even from that, I was like, this seems a little unconventional. And it was, and I really liked it.
I had seen a trailer for it, and I had wanted to see it. Like immediately from that, but I had reservations because it was an A24 movie. I hate this. I hate this studio, and I hate all their movies that they've put out so far.
You're such a bad taste boy.
I just do not like them.
I think A24 puts out, like, they produce the best movie content out right now. Like, in a world where I'm just drowning in mediocre kind of Marvel projects a lot of the times, and, like, of course Marvel has its pops, and then, God forbid, a Sony superhero movie comes out, like the God King Morbius that sold 3 trillion tickets. Like,
I'm like, between this and Midsommar and the new, they're actually working on that Marcel the Shell movie, which looked adorable.
That shit looked the cutest thing ever.
Whether the movies are good or not, I think they're at least making stuff that just feels new to me. It feels good.
I haven't watched a movie from them I dislike is the thing. Like they make stuff that goes, like, they make the popular stuff that's a little niche. It's still like, it's the popular niche studio, which is still like not saying much. It's them and Blumhouse, but they make stuff that is just. I just don't always want to see the action blockbuster. I'm kind of like those. There's a lot of those, and like they're still good. Marvel's still putting out great content, but like I've seen 22 of those films now. You know.
I feel like A24. I haven't seen a lot of the movies because they put out a lot of horror movies, like a lot.
Well, hey, I need to retract my statement and just say I'm uneducated because I didn't realize how many movies they have put out.
Yeah, me neither. I just looked up their website and I was like, oh, I didn't even know they worked on it.
Why do you think Marvel versus or A22 versus Capcom is a joke that I love dearly? Because they have like a roster of all these weirdo movie characters.
Imagine Evelyn from this movie as a character. She's a zoner, just throwing shit everywhere.
It would be great. Is there an A24 movie you do like, Tyler? Because you were like, oh, they made more than you thought.
I haven't watched Uncut Gems yet, sadly.
Oh, fantastic! I love.
I know.
Uncut Gems.
I started watching it. I just haven't got to finish it yet. I did want to watch The Lighthouse after you mentioned it.
The Lighthouse is so good. It's like their best movie.
It's not their first time. Who's the new Batman? What's
Robert Pattinson. Yeah,
because it's not their first time working with Robert Pattinson. Because I've seen in passing the other movie they made with him. It's Good Time.
Dude, they've made 8th Grade and Room and Ex Machina. Those are all. Room is one of my top 5 movies of all time. The Florida Project I've talked about on this podcast. No, they're bangers.
I did like 8th Grade. That movie was I liked Swiss Army Man.
Yeah. Swiss Army Man made this movie, the director. That makes a lot more sense now that I know that.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch The Green Knight. I hear The Green Knight is incredible, so that's been on.
I enjoyed Ex Machina a lot. I don't know. It's just been lately. I think I had a bad taste with somebody who enjoyed A24, and like I watched Hereditary and Midsommar back to back, and I hated both of those movies.
I think it's more that you don't like that director's, because both of those are by the same director, and you just don't like his style.
Yeah, so fair. I need to just stay away from that person.
Yeah, in every form.
Yeah, probably something along that line. Because like I don't know. This whole movie, on the whole, I enjoyed it. I don't know how I have no opinion other than that.
Well, who has an opinion then?
Dude,
movie good, movie very funny.
This was really cool.
Actually,
no, I don't want to cut off Joe.
Yeah, I of Encanto turning red in this movie, I think this movie is better than those 3 because they have very similar themes.
When you first said that, I was like, "What do you?" I guess in the "mom does wrong" category of movies, you are correct.
I had to post that Reddit link to show you like what I was talking about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Here's something that's cool. I was looking at just like interviews with the creators and the writers and stuff like that, and they were kind of sharing what was inspiring them when they were going into making this movie. And with how many, multiverse films are coming out this year alone, which I don't know, they were just like, one thing they were worried about with using the multiverse as an element in these films is that, particularly with comic book movies, they're worried it's just kind of, I don't know, like artistically, they're like, why are they using the multiverse?
It's a gimmick right now. Like,
like,
Into the Spider-Verse used it, and now it's everything else is kind of like kind of skating that line of just using it gimmickily.
Yeah, he was like, they just want to be able to say like, hey, this character is in this movie, and it makes sense because it's the multiverse, so we can put anyone we want in it, and stuff like that. And they were like, what can we do with the multiverse as a story element? How do you tell a story that needs the multiverse? I don't know. And I thought this was really cool because they use the multiverse as, man, the way I was talking about it with Willer, and I think they use it in many different ways, but the way I particularly liked it was she sees all these alternate versions of herself and sees something that she is not. But by the end of the movie, I think it turns into, these are all of the things that she could be, that she has the potential to be.
Yeah, they use the inverted nihilism, while her daughter Joy is like very like traditional nihilism, and they're kind of opposing in that way. And I thought that was a really cool way to, like, you need the multiverse is a perfect fit for that kind of story. It doesn't feel like, when you look at how Spider-Man used the multiverse compared to this, for example, it's like night and day. Where one, like, they tied it into the story, but it also felt like a cool gimmick to make the movie really hype. Well, this one is like, I'm building every plot element, like, and we're going to stretch this so thin. We're going to use it in multiple action scenes, and the action scenes are fantastic. I would like to bring that up. Like, they have very cool choreography, and they're hilarious.
The fights were incredible. Not just because there are badass, like, the fights are just cool, but beyond that, like, some of them were just creative as hell. The stuff people use for weapons would either be funny or creative to the point where I'm like, wow, that's really cool, or both at the same time.
The fighting for the butt plug scene is hysterical, but also is just genuinely a good action scene.
I was like, show this scene to anybody without context. Even with context, it's weird.
I'm glad I watched this specifically with Bradley, because we were cracking up. Like, we were just like, our theater was not into it, I will say. But I've heard people who went into it with big theaters were like, oh, the theater experience was so fun. Everyone was laughing. I feel like me and Bradley were the only person that, like, were enjoying the comedy of this movie. I could be wrong, Bradley, but I didn't see anyone.
Oh, dude, no one else even stirred. But I think Willer was the best possible person I could have watched this with.
Yeah, I very much, I like, because of that, like, our experience was great, and like, I drove to Bradley's place afterwards, and then I'm like, what did the multiverse really mean to you? And it was, and then we had that conversation, and like, it's just a movie that makes you think, and like, this is a movie where seeing people's takes on it and future analysis of it is only gonna make it age even better. Like, this is a video essay kind of movie, essentially.
I enjoyed it. I'm glad I saw it. Hindsight, it's 2020. I wish I had seen The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent instead.
I mean, yeah, that came out. When I watched the trailer for that, I feel like that movie's gonna have a bad second act.
Probably.
I feel like it's gonna have an amazing first act.
It's got incredible reviews. People would think it's
something to note about
Everywhere.
Yeah. This was the return performance of Ke Huy Quan.
Who is the best character in the movie.
Yes. He, like...
Oh, he's the dad, right?
Yeah, he's the dad. With those glasses on, and I think it's the movie where Jackie Chan plays, like, a babysitter. He looks so much... Yeah, The Spy Next Door. He looks so much like a young Jackie Chan with those glasses on and that haircut. I was like, that is crazy. But yeah,
maybe that was intentional, because he does a lot of kung fu.
You know what? The first time he started fighting, I was like, I feel like I'm watching a Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah, he was just really cool. He was in He was Short Round in Indiana Jones and Data in the Goonies.
Oh fuck! Okay,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Now that like every time he started yelling and like he had those high pitched yells,
I can totally make that connection now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
Jones!
that sounds so familiar.
Dr. Jones.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
By the way, Asians in Hollywood have been eaten.
They deserve it, man. Y'all didn't see the Farewell, but that's like that good Aquafina movie that I talked about not too long ago, where they're hiding the grandma's death. Yeah, man. Like, fucking Asian films are just killing it recently.
Crazy Rich Asians was also really good.
Parasite is incredible.
Yeah.
So
Almost, what was it? Almost My Never or something?
I haven't seen that one.
Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah, Always Be My Maybe. Love that movie. Good.
It's got Shang-Chi in it.
Yeah. And Randall Park. I love Randall Park.
Oh, Randall Park's great. If is who I think.
Yeah, he's Kim Jong Un.
There's so like I wouldn't give this movie a 5. Maybe in the future I will, but I did very much enjoy it. Bradley brought up the great symbolism of the everything bagel, at least to me personally, like the everything bagel getting inverted into the eyeballs, the googly eyeballs, because they're inverted colors is a great way to show that they're coming at like the nihilism from two different ends. Mm-hmm. The scene with the rocks was super, like, just the movie theater got so quiet as we watched two rocks have a very good conversation with each other, and like that's
you can hear
one of the best
drop.
parts. Yeah,
I was on the edge of my seat. I was on the edge of in a movie full of multiversal fight scenes. I was on the edge of my seat when there is no audio and it's a still image of two rocks.
And then one of the rocks turns around with googly eyes, and it's fantastic. It's super cute. I will say, this one goes to Joe and Tyler. There's a point in the movie where they start doing One Piece Wano shit. If you know what I'm talking about. Some awakening shenanigans happen in this movie. That's the coolest scene in the movie. They don't do that enough.
I mean,
Like,
you're not wrong.
There's that first scene with Joy where it gets fucking crazy, but then they don't really do that kind of combat for the rest of the movie, and it was really scratching an itch that I'm really into these days.
Yeah, I know.
Where like the last fight didn't have those elements. They were fighting in different multiverses, but it was like the same fight. It wasn't doing like as much reality bending shit. And I was kind of like, I wish the movie had more Joy getting to do cool shit, because that was a really cool scene. Because at some point, it's like, I've seen a lot of karate in this movie, but I only saw that one real scene of Joy like bending reality in that super interesting way. Which, by the way, Joy made for a very interesting villain. I like how she just kept showing up in different nonsensical outfits. I thought that was a really cool aesthetic. And it's cool because the movie has a protagonist that I don't feel that much sympathy for. She's kind of a fuck up.
Yeah, that's why she was the protagonist.
It's bold. The protagonist is kind of an asshole, and I like that about it. And she became a better person, but even in the end of the movie, she's like being kind of still a controlling Asian mom in certain ways. She's just more open and more accepting.
I think the difference is, like, at the end of the movie, she is saying those things not out of, like, annoyance, but out of genuine care for her daughter.
Maybe.
At the beginning of the movie, she is overly stressed and overly worked out that she does not want to deal with any other issues in her life, and she thinks that her daughter is, like, a problem rather than, like, something that's a part of her life. So it comes down to also, like, she thinks back to it, it's just like, Dad knew I was making a mistake, but rather than try to support me or try to help me out, he just let me go. And she comes around being like, I understand, like, you're facing troubles in your life, but I'm not going to just walk out of your life and let you do whatever you want because I want to make sure you're okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like, I guess.
She's saying the same thing, but her perspective is shifted, just like how it's shifted between Joy and her nihilism.
That's a good way to put it. And then the last scene of the movie, I was discussing with Bradley. Like, I don't know how to interpret it because
I
okay,
still don't. Oh my god.
she's talking to the IRS lady with Jamie Lee Curtis, who that scene where her gut goes in and she becomes like a wrestler was when the movie really turned for the better, like for the very very good.
Yeah.
But okay, she's talking to her, and then the Jamie Lee Curtis's character is like, well, good improvement, but you're still in a lot of trouble. And then it kind of fades away, and Evelyn's kind of having like a small multiverse moment. And then Jamie Lee Curtis is like, did you catch any of that? And Evelyn's like, oh, no, sorry, I didn't. Which earlier in the movie, when she was asked similar questions, she did catch what Jamie Lee Curtis was saying. She was just kind of also talking to her husband at the same time. So it's like, she was still partially there. It seemed like she fully disassociated for a second in the end of the movie, where like she was just completely gone. And is that meant to like? Does this mean that she could have another breakdown in the future? Like it's not all positive from here. Like she still has it in her to have another midlife crisis, which is kind of this movie is essentially a one big midlife crisis, and I don't know. I don't know how to read it.
More of a like she's not worried about like the present danger all the time in front of her now. She's thinking about other things, and then like she just had a moment where she like wandered off. She came back to the where she needed to be.
But it wandered off right as things got rough again. Like it almost implies that like things are good for now, but they won't always be good.
But that's life. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm just confirming if that's what they're going for.
It's just life has its ups and downs. You're gonna win some battles, you're gonna lose a lot others. But the point is that you keep going on and moving on.
Indeed.
And you don't try to deny the fact that like that's the other thing too, is that like when she's talking to her husband and the IRS lady, she's kind of lying to the IRS lady that she's understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
And so now she's at this point, she's like, oh, I didn't catch that. She's not trying to hide it. She just fully admits is like the situation she's in right now. And she is.
That's the other reading. That's the other reading I was debating on. Like, oh no, this is positive. It means she can snap out of getting lost in her own head now and take life seriously. But either way, great movie. That's my thoughts. Any final thoughts?
I give it like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, sorry.
Maybe 9.5 even.
Damn. Bradley is very conservative with his score, so you can take that to the bank.
Would it? Yeah, it was alright. 9.5. It was okay.
Yeah. IRS has a sex dungeon in the building. Pretty wild.
That was fucking funny.
They kept on referencing absolutely a story of a girl, which I thought was funny.
I did not know this story.
It's a song. This is a story of a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world, although she looked so sad in photographs.
Were they referencing that?
There's some lines of dialogue where it's like, because your hair never falls quite
the same way. Clothes never fit.
Oh, I remember that one.
And then, like, as they're coming out of the BDSM dungeon, the song is playing.
Okay, yeah, I didn't pay attention. Yep, I believe you.
Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know.
Joe and Tyler.
Yeah.
Debate something for 1 minute before I kick you off the podcast.
Oh shit!
Are we gonna? Okay.
I don't want to debate you. I really don't. I'd rather just leave unceremoniously.
He doesn't have the energy. No, we're getting kicked off the podcast permanently.
We're done.
This is their last episode. Hey, everyone, give them a hand. They did it. Damn. It was the last episode.
Bang up job.
On my back for the past 4 years. Now they're firing me.
Now, Tyler, can I still come to you for thumbnails? Come on, buddy.
Nope. Get your own Photoshop.
No. I don't have the good text like you do.
Yeah, I know. You sure don't. I will never tell you what fonts I use.
Fuck. Alright, maybe you can stay. Well, in that case, I mean... Y'all can leave if you want. You could also say a funny one-liner since it's your last line.
To cap off my time here at the podcast, I will close out like how I started it. Penis. Goodbye, everyone.
Wow, and that's full circle, baby. Give him a hand.
It was foreshadowing the whole time.
Wow, fantastic. And then Tyler was here.
He's going to talk about Mother of Learning with us.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Just kidding. Bye.
Yeah, you fucking better.
I was like, oh, I mean, shit, all right.
Bradley, what is Mother of
Yes.
Learning?
Mother of Learning is good Harry Potter.
Man, we've been going hard on Harry Potter.
We've been talking shit. I shouldn't say that because I think this story's strengths lie in a much different area than Harry Potter. But man, I really enjoyed this. Now, Mother of Learning is the web serial for people who don't know it, which is most people.
And Bradley has brought it up on the podcast before, and he gave it. I should go back and listen to that because you talked about the plot. But while I captured some of it, a lot of it is going to make a lot more sense now. So I need to track down what podcast that was in.
I need to listen to what I said too, because the first time I read, so we read Arc 1 of this story, which has been released on Audible. And Arc 1 is like the first fourth of the story, I guess.
Which is not bad. It is a 25-hour audiobook, but like...
At least it's not all at once. Like, I can kind of give myself a break, maybe.
And like... It's still going to be less than reading a couple parts of Worm or reading like multiple Stormlight books. So like it's not the worst thing.
But the first time I would have read this was over 4 years ago, maybe even 5 at this point. And at that point, I think the reason I stopped is I know the reason I stopped is because the story wasn't done yet. I got to like chapter 50 or something.
Right. So you were just saying that's part 2. Well, it'll be roughly the end of part 2 is what you read.
Yeah, I didn't even get to the end of Arc 2. I don't even know if it was out yet. But the way I've been describing it to Willer is that compared to the first time I read this, I have way more gripes, and yet I loved it a lot more. I think the things it does well were more apparent the second time around, and the things it does bad are more apparent the second time around.
Yeah, so what were some of those things? Because for me, so this was my first time going through it. We both did the audiobook, which to open, I guess, what did you think of the audiobook's quality? Because it's not the best audiobook reader I've heard. It's not the worst audiobook reader I've heard. There's strengths and weaknesses here.
Man, I had a whiplash the first 10 seconds of the audiobook because his voice for the narration is fantastic. I love the voice for the narration, and I heard it and I was like, this is great. How his voice for the dialogue is not good.
It depends. I think his male dialogue is better.
Yeah.
Some female characters are all right. Some of them, like Kirio and Akuye, is awful. I'm sorry. Maybe get a female this seems to be doing well. So maybe get a co-reader with him, or maybe you can change the voices up a little bit.
And specifically with the voice, one thing that's interesting is, many years ago, whenever I was reading this, I was interested, are there any audiobooks of this? And so I looked it up, and I think there was a girl who had, just as a practice for audiobooking, did the first 2 chapters or so. And I quite liked her voice. It was much lower quality, the audio and everything. But it was really interesting to see different people's takes on the same dialogue. Because, for example, in the very first chapter, there's a moment where Zorian is he's talking to his mom, and Kiriel says something, and Zorian calls her an annoying brat. Actually, God, I want to find it because I want to read the dialogue and then be like, hey, how would you read this? Because here it is. She comes in and she says, what are you talking about? And Zorian says, we were discussing what a rotten brat you are. And so for example, when I was reading it for the first time, and the other audiobook reader, they did a very calm, oh, we were just discussing what a rotten brat you are. But this audiobook reader almost yelled it. He's like, we were discussing what a rotten brat you are. And it's really interesting to see how 2 different readers will interpret.
And maybe because I'm conditioned to how this reader goes, but I think the story supports this. Zorian's kind of a twat.
He is. Oh yeah.
So I feel like that's fitting. He's very insensitive, which I'm gonna get into as a very weird narrative choice, considering his special boy gift that he gets partway through this part.
That is actually precisely what I like about the story, and I think that is its strength. Because even the official summary of the story itself starts with saying Zorian is an irritable young man.
Yes, he sure is.
And he is very irritable.
And very unaware that he's a harem protagonist who has multiple girls fawning over him.
Yeah. He, you know, he'll go through, and I will say this, Zorian ultimately is a good person who...
The line that really sold me on Zorian being a good person, at the very least, is when he's like, yeah, okay, I could go on a murder spree next loop, but, like, there's just some things you don't do. You just don't put your mind through this. You just, like, you should stay yourself and follow some sort of code and just not devolve into chaos in these loops. And yeah, he keeps his loops very structured. He's never done something disgusting because he knows people won't remember it. He's done things that are mean, but nothing atrocious. And I think, like, being in that loop for 2 years, I think it goes a long way to say that you haven't done even one really bad thing out of frustration, at the very least.
And you know, here's the thing. And I might even, since we're on the subject, I might use this to talk about the thing I really love about the story and what is the main draw for me. Because the hook of this story is obviously the time loop.
Yes.
Like, that's the main plot. That's, if someone's telling you about the story, that is what they're going to tell you. Man, what I remembered enjoying about this, and I enjoyed it more the second time around, is, at least in this first part, and it even continues a little bit onward into the second one, I think, but there's an arc of Zorian coming out of his shell, might not be the right word, but learning compassion for others, and that's something the time loop facilitates.
Yeah.
Because early on, he's kind of an asshole. Like, Bitasek is genuinely glad to see him, and he's like, this fucking guy is going to chat my ear off.
He doesn't want to talk to anyone on the trains. He's reluctant to help the little girl with the bike. But he does help her, which shows, like, there is something there. He's really mean to Kirill. Yeah. Like, the fact that he never considered Kirill's, like, place in the family is just super interesting. It takes him half the arc to think, oh my god, my little sister also has to deal with my bitch mom. And I'm sure he's gonna learn why bitch mom is a bitch eventually, and, like, and maybe come to terms with, like, why she's so family oriented, and, like, there's a lot of room to grow, and, like, yeah, the time loop facilitates so much of this slow character development. And, like, Dumarag, I believe, is the author's first or last name, and the easiest one to say. Dumarag is taking his time to really, like, utilize the loop to show a very slow progression, but, like, it feels meaningful.
Yeah, man, that thing with the girl with the bike, you know, because initially you know, whenever you're reading it for the first time, it feels unnecessary and like a throwaway. But I really do think it was necessary in that first chapter to establish that he's not just a wanton dick, you know?
Yeah.
Because, he sees that girl crying, and he's like, I'm not just going to leave a girl crying here.
Yeah, he's got limits to his indifference.
And this progression I want to talk about, there's like particular moments where he makes breakthroughs, and the beginning of chapter 24 is what ties a neat bow on all this. And I really wish the beginning of chapter 24 was the beginning of the final chapter of the arc. Because I feel like it's where the author is like, if you haven't got what I'm doing with Zorian yet, this is what I'm doing. So some of the moments that really hit me, for example, is Zorian really hates his brother, and he's like, oh, you know, this girl has a rash, you really got to help her. He's like, I'm not gonna fucking help you with that.
Yeah.
But then he finds out the girl was Emery, and he has this line where he's like, of course I would help if I knew it was you. And it reaches a point where I'm like, Zorian, she used to be a background character to you, even on the train. In, like, I think his
that's a good point. Yeah, she was. I forgot that she was even on the train that early.
Over the course of the story, Zorian will grow to learn, hey, maybe everyone is someone I could care about if I took the time to get to know them. And I don't know if we, you know, fully flesh that out here.
There's some elements. I feel like when Zack starts becoming his friend, it's like really interesting. I think Kirill is like a very important character to like really start fleshing out Zorian when he like finally decides to take her to the school, and then he moves into the apartment with the alchemist, not alchemist, the botanist, alchemist,
Yeah,
Kyle does what again? He's not the
yeah, Kyle. He's like an alchemist, but also he dabbles in
right. Okay, and he has a daughter, yes, and like that whole like little family unit that they have really starts warming up. Like Zorian starts sharing some of his knowledge. At some points, he's even like, "Guys, I'm in a time loop," and he's like, "No one's gonna believe me," and is surprised that out of all the characters, like the people in the house are the ones most receptive to the idea of Zorian being in a time loop. So like, very slow but satisfying realizations from Zorian's point of view, where like I can trust some people actually.
And another one that really got me is, in the very first loop, before he knew it was a loop, Akuya, she was his date to the dance, his first date of a few to the dance.
Yeah.
But he was fucking annoyed as shit with her the whole night. And, maybe she was being a little, I don't know, her.
Yeah, but he's also, him,
At the end of the night, whenever he mentions that, he was only going because the teacher made him, and she got so hurt, he genuinely felt bad right there. He was like, oh my God, I never considered she actually wanted to be here with me, and it wasn't just an assignment from the teacher.
And it's such a good... Yeah, he can't... That's the thing. It's so obvious to us, but, like, Zorian makes it clear that he can't even conceive of people, like... He can't even conceive of that kind of thing happening, or, like, people being kind to him without having an ulterior motive. Like, when he finally comes to the realizations that lead to empathy, it makes it clear that, like, oh, this didn't even cross his mind, even if it crossed your mind. Like, he's still a very immature child who is kind of learning empathy and he comes from a family that kind of facilitated him not really wanting to be around people. So I think his background made it so he starts at like a lower point than I feel like a lot of his classmates would be as far as empathy and kindness would go.
Yeah. And I could sit here and pull these out all day, but I think what really sticks out to me is the beginning of chapter 24, and this should have been the beginning of chapter 26, which is the final chapter of the arc. And I'm also going to talk about the beginning of chapter 26 and why it is awful. I hated it.
Ooh.
But the beginning of chapter 24, God, I'm tempted to just read these whole 2 paragraphs, but I won't. I'm going to summarize them. But it starts out with, like, Zorian will be the first to admit he was not the easiest person to get along with. He's unsociable. He was irritable. He assumed the worst of people, and he had always known that even before he got stuck in the time loop. And this is his words. I said I wasn't going to read it exactly.
Do it, bitch. Just keep going.
But he always felt that he was justified in his behavior. If anyone had been foolish enough to criticize him about it before the time loop, he would have reacted with all the subtlety and grace of a rattlesnake. Now, he still felt he may have had reasons to behave the way he did, and he wasn't going to win any friendliness contests anytime soon, but the time loop had changed him. He was calmer. He was a tad more considerate to people around him. He hadn't had an argument with his family in years. His financial independence was ensured once the time loop is over. But then while he's having these thoughts, Kirio kicks him in the knee. Something she has done before on the train. Something he snapped at her multiple times for in the series. But he says he pointedly did not snap at her. Even then, after this, she asks him if he will teach her magic. And in his own head, he's like, it doesn't matter. She's not going to remember it. And he agrees anyway.
Yeah, and like little moments like that go a long way.
And later on, when he's teaching her, he's like, oh my God, I've never seen her focus or be so enthused about anything in my life.
This reminds me of when he finds out that she's like a really good artist. Like, that was so wholesome. It's like...
He was genuinely proud of her.
Yeah, and like, oh man, like Kirio was I can't stress how much she added to the story by coming to Sayori. I thought it could be an annoying plot thread, but it really sped up some of the progression with Zorian. Like, that art scene's so cute. And yeah, that's a fantastic thing to bring up, where like he also starts teasing her in a lot like cuter ways throughout the story. There's one reset where he wakes up and just immediately hugs Kirio. I'm like, yeah, you're going through a lot, man.
And I think that's what the story is to me, is the story of Zorian opening up. I think that's what it is, and learning that, hey, you know what? Like, these people who are background characters in your life that, I don't know, he just brushed off. He's like, those could be people you genuinely care about.
Which if I have hopes, it's that we really double down on this because the story ends on a point. And here's the thing. I think the climax of Soul Kill felt kind of predictable because the way the story kind of bent over backwards to have it so, like, Zorian goes through Matriarch to get to Zack to get to the army. It's like, well, we're setting this up so if we remove the Matriarch, Zorian loses a shit ton of progress. I really felt like that would be the big climax of this arc, and it was. All the spiders pretty much, or like a majority of them, get killed. And it also brings back the stakes of like a full death into the story, which I will give the story credit to. Like, even before introducing the soul kill spell, they introduced the threat of mental harm that will come with him regardless of where he jumps to, as like a okay, the story still has stakes even before we introduce the full kill. But anyways, now that the Matriarch's gone, I feel like Zorian has to even more rely on people and take bigger risks as far as relying on people. So I hope that's kind of like where it comes to, and I hope like I want all these minor characters to have pretty good arcs to Zorian. Since the story is kind of a slow-moving story, I can at least hope that we really dive into Zorian's relationship with like all these characters and him realizing things that he didn't because his relationship was so shallow with everyone beforehand.
God, it, like, even little stuff like well, I don't know if that's the best example, but for example, there was a time when he confided something in Benesek. Like, he does at some point deliberately give him rumors to spread.
Yes, and it works.
And it works, but there was also a time where he told Benesek something, and then Ilsa asked him about it like the next period, and he's like, "That fucking asshole, he told on me," and then it turns out she had found out by her own means.
Yes.
But
yeah, like he always expects the worst from people. I think that's a pretty safe way to put it. Like the cop that he meets, we barely met him, but like like there's a lot of information that could have been exchanged there. But Zorian always starts on a very careful note, which like I was kind of annoyed when Zack gets introduced and Zorian hides it from Zack for so long, because it felt non-beneficial. But as time went on, it's like, okay, the story is proving you to be correct, but like I
wish it proved him correct earlier, you know?
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, well, you're thinking how you would handle the time loop, and hey, you would have probably gotten fucked if you handled it your way, but also you would have I would have been more efficient relying on people, so I would have had more backup. But Zorian is a careful person, so it fits his character to not share it with Zack, so that annoyance kind of faded over time, I will admit. An annoyance that doesn't really fade is how often the story, like, can grind to a halt to do exposition, which near the end, like, I think is that what you hated about the beginning of chapter 26? Because as I recall, it's really exposition heavy.
So it is exposition heavy, but the particular reason I hated it was not that. The one that did kill me with the exposition, and I think that is just the biggest weakness of the story is. I after reading Stormlight for so long, he does an amazing job at weaving in world building details into very just casual conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this story needs, because I feel like he reaches points where a character will mention an element about the world, and I feel like the author realizes, oh my god, I didn't actually talk about that yet, and then he has to go on for 20 minutes explaining it.
And it's not always the most organic way that they talk about it. It feels very like video game introducing concept to you a lot of the time. And I'm not saying this always happens. Sometimes the world building is quite good. But then you get to like the Aranea explaining the psychic rats, and it just has to be like a 15-minute explanation of like their thing with the rats, and it's like, I don't know, like I guess it makes sense that they're explaining it with Zorian, but it was quite the hefty explanation. And even in some of the time loops, it gets pretty crazy. Like some of the planning, the explanations get pretty long and verbose.
The one that was cracking me up that I told you about is they're at Zach's house party that he's throwing, and I don't know, some motherfuckers are asking about the like the history of the Nevada family, like what's Zach's deal, and Zorian is like, I tuned them out because I already knew the whole story. But then he says the whole thing in his head, and it was like
It's like
I can't believe the author isn't making a joke, because there's no way you accidentally do that.
I get the mindset here, right? I'm gonna introduce this concept to you, but I'm not gonna do the thing where it's like I'm gonna explain this to the character like he doesn't exist in the world. Like that takes you away from the story, right?
Yeah.
So he summarizes it through Zorian to us, and it shows that Zorian does know the story. So like, it is funny, but I could see like the efficiency in doing it that way. It's still not the most organic way to introduce these things.
It's like the strategy of It would be really bizarre to have Zorian stand there and listen to Zack say it for 20 minutes, so Zorian says it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it is what it is, you know. The thing is, like, I read reviews about this story, like stuff on Audible, and people are like so happy to support this masterpiece of a story, and it's like, from what I've read, this is far from a masterpiece. I think it's pretty clunky, and I think the plot. It's interesting because, like, the plot progression is... Am I even saying this wrong? I'm going to say the plot is not interesting, but the use of the loop is really hooking. Like, it uses the loop super well. It does interesting things on loops. Like, I really like, using the setting of a school and a magic system that is fairly decent. It allows you to, like, make the loops still feel like progression. It's like a roguelike where you make slow progression over time, where Zorian did the library arc. He knows how to look up books now. He doesn't have to go back to the library. So it cuts out this thing. It's like, how's Zorian going to have time to do all the things he needs to in a loop? No, because the story is really, like, the theme really enforces learning. So once you've learned it, you don't have to redo that arc, so he can do new things and make a lot of progress very quickly. Like, the mind package with the Araneo is a very convenient plot device to, like, oh, we're going to get pieces moving right off the gate as soon as I start every loop.
And that's why she had to die.
And that is why she had to die. The way the reader reads the matriarch's voice is so fucking funny to me. Like, I don't know why.
Now, talking about the matriarch dying, I want to talk about the final chapter in general.
Yeah.
Because that beautiful intro to chapter 24 that we got, like, genuinely excited about and just gushed about Zorian and the story for a little bit, I feel like that would have been a very lovely beginning to the final chapter of the arc.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, the final chapter starts with Zorian learning about all the different primordials, and, like,
yeah, oh my god,
he has a big thing where he even goes through them and lists what they look like and their abilities. And, you know, you combine the fact that at this point in the story, it's been established more than one time that, like, oh, we believe the invaders might be trying to summon a primordial. And then you start the final chapter of the arc with giving us the roster of primordials. So obviously I'm like, holy shit, the end of this chapter is going to be a fucking fireworks show. But the primordials are never mentioned again after the start.
Because unless the primordials are extremely relevant within the next 6 chapters, you could have spread that information out, my guy, somehow.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, it could have been something as simple as, like, Zorian spent another day at the church, and he learned and studying more primordials. And he does that at the beginning of every loop, and you kind of spread it out. All you needed to know is that primordials are big, scary demons, and we're going to summon one, and it's going to rampage. Like, they're not going to be able to contain it once it's summoned, and that's the threat. Which, okay. I must have missed something with the story. So what is the loop's connection with the primordial again? It's like the guy in the red cloak, which, by the way, is a projection, so I'm still not discounting that it's a classmate from Zorian. Like, they make that a clear point. Like, the red cloak is just a projection, so it doesn't even have to look like the guy necessarily.
Yeah, they went through all this effort to fucking throw a magic lance through him, and he buffed into smoke, and Zorian's like, God damn it.
Yeah, so, like, from my understanding, it's like this guy started the loop through Zack so that the primordial plan can have infinite tries before it goes through. Is this correct? Is that what I was supposed to be getting there?
What, say that again?
The loop is going over and over so that the bad guys can properly do the primordial summoning. Like, they get infinite tries on the primordial summoning. Is that I got Okay,
We don't
okay.
know why the time loop's happening.
Okay, I thought they were explaining in one chapter, and I was driving, so I was like, shit, I feel like it's not quite clicking.
That's definitely how they're trying to exploit the time loop, but we still don't know who's like ultimately responsible.
Okay. Red Cloak is taking advantage of it to have infinite tries, but it is not necessarily the start of it.
There still is the possibility that, as dumb as Zack is, he did get his memory wiped. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he started.
Man, Zack is such an interesting character, narratively speaking, and like because it's like none of the main character nor main villain are the source of this. It's just this kid who has gotten good at combat, but he's really slow learning compared to Zorian and the other time travelers. So it's like.
This genuinely made me laugh, where it's that one loop where Zack was really interested in Zorian, and he was talking about, you know, kind of the stuff he's done, and he's like, yeah, you know, I tried going to the library. He says, fucking read. He's like, I didn't like it a whole lot. I didn't go to the library again. And Zorian was like, wait, that was a joke, right? But then, you know what? That is dumb, but Zorian's like, to his credit, most of these combat spells he learned are straight up illegal and probably wouldn't be in the library anyway, and he taught one of them to me. So, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe he's clearly learning something valuable from somewhere.
Indeed.
Oh, Willard! I gotta tell this to you. You know how Wildbow has, for her part, or for his part?
There was a for his part I caught in this at some point.
Yeah, whenever that came up, I was like, oh, it's just like Wildbow. But this guy has a thing, and it's Zorian blinked.
Oh my god! Oh, well,
as soon as I said it, you're like, yeah.
No, hold on. How does every loop starts? No. That's not how every loop starts, right? It's not Zorian blinking.
Good morning, brother.
Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah.
Right, I was like, oh, is it part of the first loop? Because then, of course, it's gonna be commonly repeated. But no, you're right. If I can't pinpoint where it's used, but now that you mention it, it's like, oh my god, it really is everywhere. Zorian blinked.
In the second to last chapter, because I was doing it yesterday, I think they did it like 3 times in one chapter, and it's usually when someone tells someone something shocking. Like, for example, when Zack tells Zorian he never went back to the library, it's like, Zorian blinked. So I thought that was funny.
What else to bring up? So, like, yeah, like, I don't know if this is masterpiece tier yet, but, like, I do like the loop. I do want to read the next part. I'm actually excited because it's coming out in May, so it's not that far away.
Yeah. And, you know, I wouldn't call it a masterpiece by any means, but I really enjoy it. And
do you think it picks up from here, from what you've read? Like,
I mean, I still enjoy this. Well, man, it was so long ago, but I remember liking the stuff that came after this with about the same density as I enjoyed the stuff before it, but
because with this story, I feel like it's a lot of setup, and I keep waiting for the shoe to drop, and the shoe finally dropped on 26, but it was exactly how I expected it. So it's like, it's not quite hitting climaxes for me. It's always doing a rising action. It's always like it's so much edging. Yeah, it's crazy, and like I feel like there could be an amazing finale to this. But like, what if the finale is like another like, oh well, I expected all this because the story took such a slow path there, where like logically this is how it's gonna end, and it's like, I don't mind stories that have like a logical ending without like a big twist, but it also predicates that the adventure had a lot of highs and exciting moments along the way, while Mother of Learning is like a pretty chilled, laid back, like there's not many fights. Like Zorian has, like the only fights that happen are at the end of the loop where you know that they're gonna lose anyway, so it's like I'm just waiting for this fight to end. There's the only sense of tension was like kind of those moments where Zack was dying super early in the loop and Zorian couldn't get anything done. Like he's
like, can you fucking stop?
There's not many wrenches thrown in Zorian's way when I think about it, and I might be missing some obvious stuff, but
I think we could have used more of that, actually.
Like, yeah, the Aranea situation, they become pretty buddy after not too long, you know?
Yeah. Now here's another thing I gotta talk about. I could not stop thinking about this because the fight with Red Robe, it actually reached, there was a certain point in the fight where I was like, I actually really like this particular part. And then there's the thing that came after it I didn't like. So I don't know. They have the initial fight with Red Robe at the Arania complex, and then the loop restarts, and Zorian's like, holy fuck, I gotta go now. I can't even wait till the end of the day, because this guy already knows about the Arania. He's just gonna go kill him. I gotta get there now. And so he's rushing as fast as I can, and obviously me, the reader, I'm like, yeah, fucking go. I want to see what's going on. I want you, like, fucking go. But he gets to Saoria, and he doesn't go there. He goes to a shop, and he's like, he buys the gun, and at first, going to the shop was a really big pace break for me. So I was like, if we're gonna do this right now, this shop visit better be it better pay off so fucking hard. It better be the coolest fucking shit. And I didn't like it a whole lot. So the gun thing, it's not so much the fact that he used a gun, because like, if the gun had won the fight, like if the gun had stopped the other guy and he totally got away after that, I would have been fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Like, in a story that's all about building up your magical abilities, winning the fight with a gun would be a slap in the face.
A little bit.
Ultimately, it just stuns the guy. So I'm like, okay. But the thing I didn't like is, to me, the fight could have already had a pretty satisfying conclusion, because during the invasion and everything up to that point, and when Zorian's being chased by the Red Robe through the tunnels, the whole time he is completely outclassed. It is hopeless. Even Zack was like nothing to this guy. And we reach a point where Zorian is in disbelief, because the guy's like, you know, those spiders aren't the only ones who are masters of mind magic. And he starts trying to attack Zorian, and Zorian's like, oh my god, I'm so much better than him.
Yeah, that was such a good pop-off moment. He really could have capitalized that on a little more. I think you're bringing
That's the moment of the fight where, you know, maybe Zorian doesn't have the skills to totally mindfuck someone like the Matriarch did, but I feel like it would have been cool if, like, he could have hit him with some kind of mind blast, and then he escapes, and he's like, I gotta start planning.
The thing is, since that was brought up, Zorian always uses the same strategy of just overwhelm with the senses. It would have been cool where it's like, well, bitch, I've refined that attack, and I have, like, a proper mind attack, instead of, like, the third time using the same kind of mental attack of just, like, overwhelming.
So, you know, obviously, if Red Robe is as important as he clearly is, it would have been... I mean, maybe you can't kill him off right there, but I don't know. I feel like that was very satisfying for me. To me, that was the fruits of Zorian's labor, and it was a really cool turnaround point in the fight where he's like, oh my god, this is an advantage I have because of his actions in this story. It's something that the protagonist has earned. But the thing is, that's not where the fight ends. The gunshot happens after that, and that is played... like, the way that is written, it was played as a big deal that he bought the gun and used it, and it just was not as cool.
That's the thing, man. They're like the build up is like very engrossing, but the pop offs, they're just not quite there. They're not at the level. When a pop off happens in Worm and Pact can have like slow stretches, but then they pop off into something where it's like, yeah.
You know, it is kind of the opposite effect, isn't it?
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, that is the thing that's keeping me from going, like, man, I love this story. I'm still invested, I'm still interested. It's just, like, I kept waiting, and they might come later. Don't get me wrong, they might come later. I just don't know if this is the writer's strength, is, like, hitting those climaxes and hitting those notes. Like, think of, like, a Stormlight Archive climax. Those are, like, earth-shaking. Those are, like, Kaladin realizing he needs to save Elokar and flying to the plains and becoming a Dragon Ball character. Like, they make you feel good.
I think ultimately this probably suffers from the same thing I say about every web serial, which is like, man, it just needs a rewrite. Because, like, not only because, you know, everyone's waiting for the fucking Worm rewrite that Wild Bill mentioned years ago. That's probably not going to happen.
I've been part of this fan base long enough to know it is not real.
And, like, even other web serials, not even this one. There's another one I read where it was the first thing he ever wrote, and I really enjoyed it. But he's like, I'm aware of the fact I need to rewrite this one day, but, you know, he's never gonna. And here's the thing, this Mother of Learning, I really like it, but it's not without its flaws. And I'm like, man, web serials are the stage performance of writing sometimes, where it's like if you're sticking with a schedule like Wildbow where you're publishing a chapter every 2 to 3 days, it's like sometimes you're just going to have to put out a chapter that isn't everything it could be. Man, I love these stories so much, and I wish I had a version that was everything it could be.
And I mean, that's what draws me, like, I'm glad you got me into this web serial world, because, like, weekly manga is the coolest thing that exists to me. Like, the fact that one creator is putting this work out, and they're putting it, like, 4 to 3 chapters every, like, 3 to 4 chapters every month is, like, nuts to me. And the web serials hit the same notes, and like they don't have to do the drawing, but they do have to write a lot of words and have character beats ready. So it's like, man, it is tough. I don't hold it against him. All of these are too long, by the way. I think like manga can be a little better length than these web serials. That I think they just get into the habit of going very long, but it does pay off.
Web serial authors just fucking go, man.
Do you have other web serials you'd recommend to me? Because I've been, like, I had to do a drive from Dallas to Austin recently, in which I got in a car accident, which I didn't even bring up in the podcast, but that sucks.
It's funny, because,
I'm running low on reading materials, what I'm trying to get to.
So, like, the book I'm reading right now, for example, that, I've been talking about in our Discord chat, that is also a web serial, and it's probably the only one that is reasonably linked. Web serials are just long.
Yeah.
But the one I'm reading right now, for example, I think now there's an official print version, but at the time there was not, so I printed my own version using the free ebook. And the whole thing only came out to like 300 pages, and even then the back, like 30 of those is just like extra materials from his website. And I'm like, that's less than most Harry Potter books. I'm like, that's a pretty reasonably length web serial.
Bradley, let's make a web serial.
I'll make a fucking web serial.
Dude, make a web serial. Bradley's got a ton of cool ideas.
Oh my god, I have so many stories, and that's what's cool about web serials is it takes the least amount of resources.
That's the beauty. If you have a good story, you can make a good web serial. You just have to have the work ethic.
And man, like, because I like reading stories about Wildbow, for example, starting out, because, he had never written anything before. He was just like, I'm just going to write. And he didn't even put out advertising either. It was like all word of mouth.
We live in a world where these things are taken more seriously. We're post-Tumblr, like, fanfic era. People are willing to just read shit online now. So it's easier now too.
I think Mother of Learning is pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I went through it a lot faster this time than I did the first time.
Yeah, you crushed it.
I zoomed, and obviously it's not without its gripes, which we did not hesitate to speaking out on. But I think there's something really cool here. And yeah, I'm excited to keep going. I definitely think. Well, actually, I can't know that because, I haven't finished the whole story.
That's the thing.
I always got the vibe that, to me, this being the end of Arc 1 seems like it's probably the point where it's like, you might know if you like it by now. Kind of like the Leviathan arc is in Worm.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I ultimately don't know that. Because, for example, like, for you, with Worm, like, I don't think it truly ascended for you until you got to near the end, where it's like it really pays off.
Yeah, like with Worm for me, it was like it's kind of similar because the Leviathan arc is the big shoe drop. I mean, to be fair, it was a much better shoe drop, but also like there's a big kaiju fight and like a lot of people died, but it like the thing with Worm is like action set pieces won't always be the most interesting part to me, and that was like a very long action set piece, so I was still pretty mild about it. I look back on it pretty fondly though. With this, it's like the shoe drop moment also happened. I'm not like totally in love yet, but just like Worm, the stuff after kind of made that moment better for me. So maybe this could happen also with Mother of Learning.
I already really loved Worm the first time I was going through, but god damn, like I loved it so much more afterward, like in retrospect. And I already like this story, and who knows, maybe it'll get even better. But for me, that's Mother of Learning.
And that is also Mother of Learning for me. Bradley,
Yes.
what are your predictions for the things you've already read? We don't even need this section.
That's the thing is, dude, there was actually a shitload of stuff. I forgot Tyvin and most of Zorian's friends even existed besides Kyle, if you count that as a
Man,
friend.
here's the thing. I thought Tyvin was Red Hood, so you saying that is like, well, I don't know anymore, man.
Tyvin's actually, you know what? Here's another. No, back when we were talking about ways Zorian has changed, man, and I want to get your opinion if you think this counts, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool where Zorian, obviously, he goes on his first expedition with Tyvin and all of them, and in the next loop, obviously he knows like, oh, they're gonna go down there and get killed.
Yeah, they die.
Because that's what happens. And he's like, well, I got shit going on this loop. He's like, man, I don't know. He's like, it sucks, but they'll come back. But then there's a later moment where it's granted a very different scenario, but she's about to get killed by a war troll, and he's like, even though I am like very aware of the fact she is just going to come back in the next loop and her dying here would not matter, I'm not going to let it happen. And,
Definitely. No, yeah, like there's definitely moments like that. Like there's certain loops where he doesn't spend much time on it, but he optimizes the way to keep her alive while she's still trying to go down there. Like he really works on it.
Yeah.
And why would he spend so much time? Like he's got more important things to do, but he does take the time to find the right ways to do it. So I think that says a lot.
If he can figure out one sentence to tell her to save her life, he's like, yeah, I'll spend fucking 12 restarts figuring it out.
Yeah.
That's kind of a, this could be a love it or hate it thing. I kind of enjoyed it because to me, it kind of felt like not an interlude, but just kind of like something between sub arcs where what the story kind of does is we'll have a significant loop that Zorian may spend 3 or 4 chapters in, and then that loop ends. And usually those loops are where he finds out something new, like the Aranea exists, or he goes to live.
And then we have the fast forward loops.
Yeah, well, then we'll have some loops where he'll go through like a dozen loops in one chapter. And then I don't know. I think that's kind of fun. Like we'll have like
I think the story 1000% needs that variability. Like when he starts working on how to save Tyvin, you get like a couple of paragraphs where it's just like try after try after try after try. We don't even care about anything else that's happening in the loops, and then we summarize like other stuff he was doing. But like it's so important for the pacing to have those quick fires also in the middle.
I think the most abruptly restarts happen in the whole story. And it was when he was practicing a particular magic. It might have been practicing the shaping exercises or something else, but he mentions getting a book from the library, and then he's like, and then within the next few restarts, I got it.
That's it. That's all, folks.
I was like, well, goddamn.
Well, goddamn. You don't have to... The story does a good enough job of going through Zorian's learning process where it's like, you don't have to do it every time. You can skip some. Yeah. That's fair. As for what I'm expecting, I am expecting a twist with Red Hood, but I guess if you can't remember Tyvin exists, it's probably not her. So I wouldn't know who it is now. But I know it's not just... It's not going to be the shape of the Red Hood that he saw. I'm expecting Zorian to, like, find a substitute with the rats. Like, why else would they fucking be included in the story if not to substitute for the spiders right now? I think it's not gonna be the friendly. He might enslave them, but I don't know if the story is gonna trend to Zorian doing dark stuff in the loop. Like, he's avoided it, and he made a point to be like, well, I'm not gonna be myself if I start doing bad things. I don't know if this becomes a darker story, and he starts doing morally ambiguous things to progress himself in the loops, but that is one way we could go, where he enslaves a race of rats to be able to send people information through the loops. Maybe. We'll see.
I got a thing that I'll never forgive myself if I don't talk about it, because I actually really liked this moment. And I thought I wouldn't. But Zorian taking down the Lich was actually pretty cool for me, and here's why. The Lich is the goddamn Terminator. He is even like the person who teaches combat magic is doing nothing to this guy. He has a whip that, and man, as much as I complained about the fight against Red Robe, I thought the invasion in the final chapter was actually fantastic.
It was the best invasion by far.
Yeah, he sets up this stuff where, for example, he shows I think it's Kyron as the combat teacher.
Yes.
We see him, Zorian's like, oh my god, he has this magic whip and it is just sliding through people. Even that vampire lady, he's like, it sliced her arm right off. Like it's cutting through them like butter. And then to show the power scaling of the Lich, he slings it at the Lich, and the Lich, like without grabbing, like without looking, he just grabs it out of the air and it doesn't harm him. And we see him get hit by all kinds of stuff fire, and he's like, y'all are so puny. And that's good because it's setting up this arrogance and this feeling of invulnerability that he has. And we also know that, yeah, he's the kind of arrogant guy who will grab your attack out of midair.
Yeah,
So
that is well established, yeah.
And I don't know, that just makes it all the more great whenever Zorian, it's like from the Lich's perspective, he was probably just fucking throwing a rock at him, and he's like, yeah, I'll fucking catch it out of there, this will look badass. And it takes him down.
Yeah, and again, it was teamwork because he took it out with his necromancer friend helping
and
in that way.
Even Zorian was like he could have easily, batted it aside with a shield or something, but I think that's why it was important that we showed him grabbing an attack earlier in the fight. And also,
it was not unearned.
Zorian even says, like, he probably didn't bat it aside because, I mean, he feels so invincible.
I mean, next time this happens, I bet the Lich dodges because Red Robe is like, hey, stop that catching shit. That's not cool.
Yeah. I thought the Lich was fucking cool.
Yeah.
So.
He's
Liches are cool.
He's a bad guy. He's a mean one, that Mr. Lich.
Mr. Lich.
All right.
All right.
That's Mother of Learning. Come back around the end of May, early June, and we'll probably talk about Arc 2 around then.
Let's hit it.
All right. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.